London, people who had a long-standing connection to land and environment, people who had an enduring sense of community, people whose ceremonies were around the cementing of community, particularly intergenerational cementing, and the fact that elders are so respected in First Nations cultures. I think those things are really, really important, and London needs to start to learn about how communities can cohere if it's going to move forward.
It's not the first time a canoe, a ceremonial canoe, has been on the Thames. The first one was in 1901 in July. Yeah, that was brought over by Maggie Papakura, one of our great cultural leaders of that time. The second one was brought over by the Maori Queen in, I think it was about 1993. And so we're the third. And we're quite excited about the whole thing.
Hoppa, hoppa hia, hiki, hiki tia, away ho, hey.
My name is Fuite Valley. Come from Hamilton, New Zealand. I've been involved with this waka as a kaihoi, a paddler, to come on board and help with paddling this waka down the Thames River. The river was wide, it was huge. The current was pretty strong. A lot of traffic coming through the Thames. Huge brick buildings down the edges of the river, which is, that's not something that you see a lot in New Zealand. But we got to a point by Tower Bridge where we heard this karanga come from the shores, which was really strange because it cut through the noise, the hum of the boats, thing like that, and you just heard this Māori karanga that really gave me goosebumps, really.
To see a waka taua, a Māori war canoe here in London sitting on Hampstead Heath, it's quite an amazing thing, and it adds to the whole spirit, or the wairua and the mana of the whole situation, the pride of the whole thing.
The idea of pōwhiri came about. Our ancestors created this process in order to ascertain whether you were friend or foe. So the reason you sent out the people with the taiaha and everything was that was the first challenge to see what your intentions were. And when the kaiwero put something down on the ground, that's the test. And he's going, well, if you pick it up, we're friends. If you don't, it's on. When the process of a pōwhiri starts, an intrinsic tapu or extra tapu descends upon all those involved in the process. So that sets, in our view, an imbalance. So in order to restore the balance, we all sit down at the end to eat food, and food is the one thing in our culture that can remove any of that intrinsic tapu. So once we sit down and we eat together, the balance is restored, and then the guests become like the home people, and we become joined as one.
Oh, everyone has their own interpretation of what the haka and its purpose is. For myself, the haka is a ceremonial war dance to instill fear into your enemy, your opponent. Nowadays, whilst it's meant for that same purpose, it's used in a lot of entertainment type ceremonial practices.
We always get that general reaction. I heard someone over there go, haka. And it's mainly because you associate haka, All Blacks, rugby, all that sort of stuff.
So I had the kids from Waikato Faraday School, and I just ran them through quite a few Māori waiata, haka, a couple of haka songs, taught them a couple of hakas, and left them some videos to practice at home, and they just seemed to embrace it fully. So they did the head of the parade and then sang on the steps of St. Paul's and also did a haka, so it was all really good.
There are haka that are done by women. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different haka. Haka are composed for different reasons. They are done for different things. Perhaps to show your respect for somebody, perhaps even at their tangi or at a wedding or at a graduation or there's different reasons for doing haka. Not just to go and play a game of rugby against another country.
So Matariki is the star constellation that is known as Pleiades, or the Seven Sisters in the Northern Hemisphere. It's been mentioned in the Bible. It's a very old constellation that means a lot to any peoples where she reveals herself. So in New Zealand, in Aotearoa, when Matariki comes back into our hemisphere, it heralds in the winter. The harvest would have been done. It's a time of abundance. It was a time of celebration because all the hard work is done and you dig down for winter. It's essentially New Year. And there's not many platforms for Pacific or Polynesian people here to show their creativeness through the arts. So that's why I started Matariki Ki Tua, so that it would become a platform for us to be able to gather, to celebrate through food, entertainment, the more sort of celebratory side of ritual.
No heritage event can change the world overnight. But I think what we can do by performing these ceremonies with respect and honour and doing it in a way which is both traditional and feels very present and immediate, is that we can make people think a little differently about the way in which they're living. And I think we felt this very powerfully on Hampstead Heath when we had the pōwhiri, and the people from New Zealand, from Toi Maori, were welcomed so powerfully by the London Maori community. And it was able to happen on the land in London with an awful lot of London people watching and it being explained to them what was happening so they understood. And I think what that can do is it can just send little ripples out into the wider community so that people think, well, that level of respect, that level of decorum which is being shown between people as they meet, people who have travelled, that awareness that people travel with spirit and with inheritance, with heritage, is really, really special. And we're not Polynesian, we never will be, but when we see these things, we can just take a little sense of the moral beauty and how we can integrate that into our own lives and just make ourselves a little bit better.